Welcome, Page Jumpers. You've just stepped through the portal into the deep dive, where two curious minds leap through ink, spellcraft, and starships. We're here to unearth the hidden layers of your favorite fantastical worlds.
That's right. And today we are plunging headfirst into the very murky and complex depths of J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Oh, yeah. This book, for so many of us, it felt like the pivotal moment. Where the magic really matured, the stakes just soared, and those lines between good and evil, they got seriously blurry.
In ways we hadn't quite seen before, definitely.
We've poured over the material you've shared, pulling out insights, some really intriguing analyses, and yeah, even some bold takes that might just flip your perception of characters you thought you knew inside out.
Mm-hmm.
But before we unravel all the profound emotional journeys and the surprising character transformations that really define this crucial installment, just a quick note. We are new. So if you find value in what we're talking about, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel on YouTube.
Yeah, it genuinely helps us grow our little community here and keep doing these deep dives for you.
It really does.
Okay, so Half-Blood Prince. It's not just a bridge to the final conflict, is it? It's this profound examination of choices, consequences, and the ever-escalating cost of war.
Absolutely. From the way the magical conflict starts seeping, almost leaking, into the mundane world.
Yeah, the Muggle world. And the intricate, really dangerous dance of loyalty and deception that's playing out. This book just demands a closer, more critical look, I think.
Agreed. We'll be dissecting those pivotal moments, pulling out subtle foreshadowing you might have missed, and delving deep into the psychology of characters we perhaps thought we knew.
Only to find they're far more complex, yeah.
All right, let's kick things off then, with a cold open hook that might just make you reevaluate everything you thought you knew about, well, the most revered wizard of them all.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
We're talking, of course, about Albus Dumbledore. Was he truly the purely benevolent, all-knowing guide we've always pictured?
The Gandalf figure, yeah.
Right. Or was he maybe something else? A brilliant strategist, a calculated manipulator who, deliberately orchestrated his own demise. And Harry's perilous, lonely path.
Sacrificing pieces along the way. Maybe even Harry's innocence, arguably, for the greater good.
Exactly. Our deep dive into the material, it really reveals a Dumbledore who is far from just a kindly old wizard. You see his meticulous planning, his willingness to push Harry right to his absolute limits.
And that remarkable, almost chilling foresight regarding Snape's true role in the whole unfolding tragedy, it's uncanny.
It really is.
What's fascinating here, I think, is how the narrative, even though it's mostly through Harry's often limited perspective, it constantly forces us to question Dumbledore's methods. Like, take his approach to getting that complete memory from Horace Slughorn. Dumbledore talks about gentle persuasion, right?
Makes it sound quite soft.
But he clearly knows exactly what information he's after. He understands the memory's full content even before Harry does. He's almost directing Harry's interactions with Slughorn to get this specific outcome.
Which indicates a level of control and, prior knowledge that, when you really stop and think about it, is almost unnerving.
It is. It feels less like a collaborative effort and more like a highly choreographed operation,
Yeah. And didn't Dumbledore himself admit to experimentation on Voldemort in their past encounters? That word always struck me.
Experimentation, yes. It suggests this cold, almost scientific approach to a dangerous enemy. Not solely a compassionate one trying to save souls. He's dissecting, probing, pushing boundaries. It's quite clinical.
And it gets even more unsettling when you think about how he motivates Harry. The material points out Dumbledore's, seemingly casual discussion of Harry's parents' death.
Oh, that part, yeah.
Using Harry's deepest trauma to basically spur him into action to get Slughorn's memory. It feels almost like he's using Harry's grief as emotional leverage.
Like a strategic tool in his grand design, he lets Harry recount Lily Potter's kindness to Slughorn, knowing it'll pull at the old potions master's heartstrings.
It's effective, absolutely.
Yeah.
But, at what cost to Harry's emotional state?
Right, and then there's the constant withholding of information. That always gets me.
Me too.
Yeah.
He never explicitly told Harry that Slughorn would be teaching potions. Harry was genuinely confused, frustrated even, when Snape was announced as the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. He actually thinks, I thought he was teaching potions.
Exactly, and that wasn't just a simple oversight from Dumbledore. It really suggests a deliberate choice to keep Harry in the dark on a need-to-know basis.
Making sure Harry remains, malleable to his plans.
Which raises this really important almost uncomfortable question. Was Dumbledore effectively sacrificing Harry's innocence, his emotional well-being, for the greater good?
Was he seeing Harry less as a young man under his care and more as a necessary tool, a critical piece in the game against Voldemort?
It's harsh, but it's an effective approach sometimes, isn't it? Like a general who, cares for their soldiers, but still has to make that call to sacrifice some for the strategic win.
And Dumbledore was definitely willing to put Harry in direct, profound danger. Collecting Slughorn's memory, that terrifying Horcrux mission in the cave.
That cave scene. Terrifying is the right word. Harry himself says he feels abandoned or alone sometimes when Dumbledore's absent or tight-lipped.
And the lack of full disclosure is just palpable. Dumbledore even tells Harry, regarding Malfoy's actions, "I think you might even consider the possibility that I understood more than you did."
Which isn't just him saying, "I know more." It implies this vast hidden agenda. A plan so intricate that Harry, and us readers by extension, only get these tantalizing, often unsettling glimpses.
Yeah. It leaves you wondering about the true cost of that kind of calculated heroism. Okay. And now, the piping hot take, the one that's bound to start a wizarding war in the comments.
Laugh slightly. Severus Snape, his actions throughout Half-Blood Prince, culminating in that scene. The gut-wrenching, soul-crushing scene in the astronomy tower.
Yeah. Unforgettable. They are not acts of betrayal. I'm arguing they are the ultimate, most profound demonstration of loyalty imaginable.
Wow. Okay, go on.
Making him not just a tragic figure, but arguably the most heroic figure in the entire series. He's this meticulously crafted double agent, operating under immense, almost unimaginable pressure from multiple sides. Voldemort, Dumbledore, even Narcissa Malfoy pleading with him.
So, not a man choosing evil, but a man choosing an impossible path.
Exactly.
Okay, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Snape's role isn't just complex, it's agonizingly intricate. Think back to that desperate sort of clandestine meeting at Snape's house, Spinner's End.
With Narcissa Malfoy, yeah. She's frantic, asking if Voldemort chose Draco to punish Lucius, and sobbing, "But he won't succeed."
And Snape's response is so chillingly calm, but loaded with double meaning. He says, he intends me to do it in the end, I think, but he's determined that Draco should try first.
Which, when you re-examine it, strongly implies a prearranged plan, right? A terrible burden shared with Dumbledore.
It really does. Snape is fulfilling that unbreakable vow to Narcissa, yes, to protect Draco from certain death at Voldemort's hand.
But simultaneously fulfilling Dumbledore's explicit prearranged order to end his life. It's the only way it makes sense.
And the description of Snape's face, etched with revulsion and hatred, right before he casts the killing curse on Dumbledore.
That supports it. It's agonizing, a prearranged mercy kill, a terrible necessity, not an act born of malice or glee.
It's the face of a man ripping his own soul apart, literally.
Precisely. It wasn't murder in the usual sense. It was a sacrifice. A performance, really, designed to solidify Snape's cover with Voldemort.
And what about his constant, almost theatrical antagonism towards Harry throughout the book?
Right. From the moment Harry bumps into him at the gates, Snape's malice is unmistakable. He says Harry was better off with the old one about Tonks's Patronus, such a cruel dig.
And mockingly calling him the chosen one during detention, constantly belittling him.
But what if, and this is where it gets really interesting, what if this constant antagonism was actually part of Dumbledore's strategy and instruction?
To ensure Harry never trusted Snape enough to get too close, thereby protecting Snape's incredibly valuable cover.
Exactly. And maybe also forcing Harry to rely on his own instincts, his own ingenuity, making sure he stayed independent for the fight ahead.
Lupin himself kind of hints at this complexity later, doesn't he? He tells Harry, it might have been on Dumbledore's orders that Severus questioned Draco.
Yes. So this theory transforms Snape from just a villain into this profoundly tragic hero, trapped in an impossible situation, forced to be hated by the very people he was secretly protecting.
It's like, a double agent in a Cold War spy thriller, where survival depends on maintaining this utterly convincing, utterly repugnant facade.
Nailed it. Okay, shifting gears a bit now from those intense character analyses, let's break down some of the major themes running through Half-Blood Prince. One of the most striking and maybe most relatable in our world today is how the magical war increasingly infiltrates mundane Muggle reality.
Oh, absolutely. You see it right from the start with the Muggle Prime Minister, his escalating terror, his almost pathetic reliance on the other minister.
Remember the early meetings with Fudge? They were almost reassuringly bumbling. But by Half-Blood Prince, the Prime Minister finds Fudge disheveled and fretful, completely broken by denial.
And he's explicitly told, he who must not be named is back. No more pretending. This isn't just some internal wizarding problem anymore.
No, it's not just distant whispers or headlines in the wizarding world. The Dementor attacks, once mostly a magical thing, they're now public knowledge. Reported in Muggle papers as inexplicable chilling fogs or a sharp drop in temperatures, causing widespread panic.
And we learn about the brutal murders Amelia Bones, Emmeline Vance, written off in Muggle papers as nasty killings that leave the police baffled.
And the chilling part is that these attacks are happening just around the corner from the Prime Minister's own residence, bringing the threat literally to the seat of Muggle power.
This pervasive fear, it starts to infect daily life across both worlds. Diagon Alley, remember how vibrant it was? Now it's riddled with ministry posters warning of undesirable number 1.
And the security measures are so invasive.
Yeah.
Like the tightened goblin security at Gringotts with that probity probe. Memorable, if uncomfortable.
Chuckles. Yeah. It's a world tighten its belt, bracing for impact.
And this fear, tragically, it creates this dark, exploitative economy. People like Mundungus Fletcher.
Oh, Mundungus, the epitome of opportunism.
Right, capitalizing on it, selling fake protective charms and jinxes to desperate, scared people. Mrs. Weasley warns Harry about so-called protective potions that are really gravy with a bit of booba-tuber pus added.
Or instructions for defensive jinxes that actually make your ears fall off. Classic Molly. But then there are the more sinister things, like the cursed sneakoscopes almost certainly planted by a Death Eater, turning protection into infiltration.
And the Ministry itself. Initially under Fudge, it was all bluster and denial, a near-total information blackout. But under Rufus Scrimgeour, there's a shift.
Yeah, he's more direct about Voldemort's return, acknowledges the grim reality, but he still ruthlessly manipulates public perception, trying to get Harry to publicly endorse the Ministry to shore up its crumbling authority.
Even installing Kingsley Shacklebolt, a top Auror, as the Prime Minister's Secretary for Protection without the PM's full informed consent.
It's a chilling, almost textbook portrayal of information control, propaganda, and how governments, even well-meaning ones, can resort to manipulative tactics when facing an existential threat.
That's a really powerful analysis. Okay, moving on. Let's dive into those intertwined themes of destiny, choice, and the immense, almost crippling burden of being the chosen one.
Harry's evolving understanding of the prophecy, neither can live while the other survives. It's absolutely central here.
Early on, it just seemed like this predetermined fate, right? This heavyweight just dropped on his shoulders. But by Half-Blood Prince, you see him starting to not just accept his role, but actively embrace it with this hardened, grim determination.
He tells Dumbledore so fiercely, almost defiantly, "I'll make sure I take as many Death Eaters with me as I can, and Voldemort too if I can manage it."
That's not passive resignation. That's a warrior's resolve, a huge shift in his agency.
Yeah, and what's truly critical, and I think often overlooked in its philosophical depth, is Dumbledore's profound explanation that Voldemort, by his own actions, created his worst enemy by acting on the prophecy.
Right. Dumbledore says, if Voldemort had never heard of the prophecy, would it have been fulfilled? Would it have meant anything? Of course not.
He emphasizes that by trying to kill Harry as a baby, Voldemort not only handpicked the man most likely to finish him, he handed him uniquely deadly weapons.
Which elevates the whole discussion from just a simple plot device about fate to this complex exploration of the power of choice and agency.
Voldemort's fear of the prophecy paradoxically ensures its fulfillment. It's that classic self-fulfilling prophecy scenario. It underscores how our choices, often born from our fears, can shape our destiny more powerfully than any preordained path. It's the ultimate irony, really.
And the psychological toll on Harry through all this is just immense. He's still dealing with the grief from Sirius at the start of the book. Lying on his bed at the Dursleys, refusing meals, filled with that chill emptiness he associated with Dementors.
Yeah, that grief is so raw at the beginning, yet amidst that sorrow, he finds this determination. He refuses to shut myself away or crack up.
He recognizes the heavy responsibility Dumbledore is placing on him with the secret lessons about Voldemort's past and the horcruxes. He feels bolstered, comforted by them, understanding their huge significance.
But also slightly abandoned and adrift when Dumbledore's away, which is understandable.
Yeah. This acceptance of his role, this willingness to step up, it doesn't come without a significant emotional cost. He's maturing into a leader, sure, but it's a crucible forged in loneliness and loss.
Let's transition now to another powerful and often messy theme. Love obsession and their darker, more manipulative sides.
Ooh, good one. The discussion of emertentia, This super powerful love potion in Slughorn's class is a perfect philosophical starting point, isn't it?
It really is. Slughorn says it's impossible to manufacture or imitate love, but it causes powerful infatuation or obsession. That distinction is crucial.
It's not true love, it's a counterfeit. A dangerous mimicry that just strips away free will and creates this psychological trap for both the user and the recipient.
And the tragic, deeply disturbing story of Merop Gaunt, it serves as this devastating, real-world example of that paradox.
She used a love potion on Tom Riddle Sr., leading to a marriage built entirely on obsession, on magical compulsion, not genuine affection or consent.
And when the enchantment inevitably lifted, maybe she stopped giving it to him, hoping for real love, or maybe she just died. Tom Riddle Sr. reappeared at the manor house, without his wife, talking about being hoodwinked and taken in.
Merope's death, alone and heartbroken, and Voldemort being born in an orphanage. It just shows the devastating generational consequences of that kind of manipulative love.
Voldemort's early life, devoid of true affection, a stable family. It's a direct and tragic result of that dark act. It perfectly shows how obsession can breed absolute emptiness. A chilling origin story for the greatest dark wizard.
Yeah, really chilling.
And then we also see the complexities of unrequited or forbidden love playing out in much more relatable, if equally frustrating ways.
Like Harry's feelings for Ginny. Wonderfully, awkwardly complicated by his loyalty to Ron, creating that self-imposed brotherly barrier.
He's desperately trying to convince himself his feelings are entirely elder brotherly, even while wanting to rip Dean limb from limb for kissing her.
He keeps reminding himself, she's Ron's sister, she's out of bounds. That internal conflict, the agonizing self-denial, it's so palpable, incredibly relatable.
Oh, yeah. And then there's Ron's accidental love potion mess with Romilda Vane, which ironically just throws his true unspoken feelings for Hermione into stark relief.
Ginny's blunt, hilarious observation that Ron looks like he's eating her face when he's with Lavender Brown. It perfectly highlights the superficiality and sheer awkwardness of that relationship compared to his deeper connection with Hermione.
It's classic teenage drama, but with, magical complications.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is Ron's comment later, when he thinks he took Felix Felicis for the Quidditch match. He tells Harry, yeah, but I thought I had, didn't I? Same difference, really.
Which suggests that even the illusion of success or confidence can be as powerful as the real thing. It perfectly mirrors how infatuation, even if it's artificially induced, can feel like love in the moment.
It's the placebo effect with magic.
Precisely. And finally, that intricate, often deadly web of loyalty versus blind obedience. It's explored with devastating consequences here.
The Death Eaters Malfoy, Narcissa, Bellatrix, they display this twisted, fear-driven loyalty to Voldemort. Narcissa's desperate plea to Snape about Draco's mission just reveals the deep fear in the Malfoy family.
Her frantic question, to punish Lucius, and her tearful, but he won't succeed. It clearly hints that Draco's mission is basically a death sentence from Voldemort, a way to punish Lucius for his failure.
It's not loyalty from devotion. It's loyalty born of terror and survival.
And then you have Bellatrix, by stark contrast, chillingly, maniacally ruthless, saying if she had sons, I would be glad to give them up to the service of the Dark Lord. That fanaticism is just horrifying.
Utterly chilling. These distorted loyalties are contrasted so sharply with Snape's deep hidden loyalty to Dumbledore. A loyalty so profound and self-sacrificing it ultimately costs him everything.
Forcing him to appear as a traitor while actually fulfilling this vital, selfless role in the grand strategy against Voldemort.
Okay, let's talk Antivision now. We've always mostly seen Dumbledore as the wise, benevolent mentor, the Gandalf, the embodiment of good.
The standard interpretation.
But what if he was far more of a master manipulator? A grand chess player willing to sacrifice pawns, even beloved ones, for the end game. Our material doesn't just challenge that purely benevolent view, it kind of dismantles it, pointing to some deeply questionable methods.
Yeah, it's less a challenge and more a reframing, I think. Like, consider his methods for getting Slughorn's complete memory. He implies gentle persuasion, almost grandfatherly coaxing.
But he knows the full unedited content before Harry even sees it. He says, I think you might even consider the possibility that I understood more than you did.
That's not just knowing the topic, it's a highly calculated psychological approach. Knowing precisely how to trigger Slughorn's guilt, his vanity, his latent compassion. It's a very specific set of levers he's pulling there.
And that experimentation word again. his admitted experimentation on Voldemort in the past.
Right. Dumbledore tells Voldemort, I have experimented. I have pushed the boundaries of magic further, perhaps, than they have ever been pushed. And Dumbledore corrects him, of some kinds of magic, of others you remain, forgive me, woefully ignorant.
That doesn't sound like a purely compassionate mentor. It suggests Dumbledore saw Voldemort not just as an evil to be beaten, but as a subject, something to be studied, probed, intellectually outmaneuvered, almost like a fascinating, dangerous specimen.
It is clinical, almost shockingly clinical.
He consistently uses Harry's deepest pain, his parents' death, to motivate him. When Harry recounts it to Slughorn to get the memory, Dumbledore not only allows it, he creates the space for it, even though it's clearly agonizing for Harry.
Demonstrating a clear willingness to use emotional leverage, maybe even exploit it, to achieve his goals.
And his withholding of information goes beyond just Slughorn. He never told Harry Slughorn would teach potions. Harry was totally surprised when Snape got the defense job, thinking, I thought he was.
This deliberate withholding, even of small details, consistently keeps Harry dependent on that need-to-know basis, meticulously serving Dumbledore's larger, often opaque plan.
It's not about trust, it feels more like control.
And furthermore, Dumbledore consistently places Harry in direct, life-threatening danger without full disclosure, collecting Slughorn's memory, where Harry had to confront Slughorn's deep guilt and shame.
And that utterly perilous mission in the Horcrux cave. Incredibly high stakes and risky.
In the cave, remember when Harry offers to drink that terrifying, agonizing potion? Dumbledore refuses, saying, because I am much older, much cleverer, and much less valuable.
Which seems humble, self-deprecating.
But profoundly underscores his strategic thinking. Harry is more valuable alive for the final fight, a piece to be preserved.
So it really begs the question, was Dumbledore, in his brilliant, terrifying wisdom, sacrificing Harry's innocence, his well-being, even his safety, for the greater good?
Was he truly seeing Harry as a complex individual, or more as a necessary tool? A soldier in a war that only he fully understood.
That analogy of a general sacrificing units for a strategic victory, it feels not just apt, but chillingly precise here. Okay, let's shift gears now for our empathy dive. Let's step beyond the sneering bully persona and explore the tortured soul of Draco Malfoy.
Yeah, Draco, yeah. In Half-Blood Prince, he's no longer just the spoiled rival we love to hate. He's a boy caught in this terrifying, inescapable snare, a pawn in a game far too dark for him.
You see his desperation almost right away. It's a subtle shift from his usual arrogance. Harry notices his increasing agitation, his appearance, the dark shadows under his eyes, and a distinctly grayish tinge to his skin at Slughorn's Christmas party.
This isn't the preening, confident Malfoy we're used to seeing. It's a boy under immense, crushing pressure, clearly struggling with the horrific, impossible task Voldemort gave him.
He's physically and mentally just unraveling before our eyes. His usual bravado is just this thin veneer over profound terror.
And Narcissa's frantic, desperate plea to Snape at Spinner's End really pulls back the curtain, doesn't it? Reveals the unbearable stakes for the Malfoy family.
She's utterly terrified for her son, asking Snape to punish Lucius, and sobbing, but he won't succeed. She knows implicitly that this mission Voldemort gave Draco is essentially a death sentence.
A horrifying act of revenge by the Dark Lord for Lucius's failures. It highlights how trapped Draco is, caught between Voldemort's merciless demands and his family's desperate, crumbling survival.
He's not really choosing to be evil here. He's choosing to survive. It's like being forced into a game of Russian roulette, where every click brings you closer to death.
And what's most poignant, I think, what really humanizes him, is his visible trembling and ultimate inability to deliver the killing curse to Dumbledore in the Astronomy Tower.
Yeah, the text describes his wand hand still trembling, and Dumbledore pointing out, still you have not acted.
That isn't just cowardice, though he might see it that way. It indicates this immense internal conflict, and perhaps a fundamental lack of true malice needed for murder.
Despite his upbringing, steeped in prejudice and dark magic, despite years of posturing as a Death Eater in training, he lacks that inherent depravity for cold-blooded murder.
He's trapped between Voldemort's impossible demands and his own inherent limits. A character whose villainy feels ultimately forced upon him rather than genuinely chosen.
And his forced role as a Death Eater contrasts so sharply with Harry's willing, though heavily burdened, acceptance of being the chosen one. Two incredibly different responses to the weight of expectation.
Definitely.
Now, for a segment we call What They Missed. These are the subtle but deeply significant details that even die-hard fans might overlook. First up, the profound, horrifying significance of the Gaunts and Parseltongue, beyond just Voldemort's lineage.
Yeah, it's more than just a family tree. It's like a blueprint for a monster. The material paints this truly visceral picture of the absolute squalor of the Gaunt family.
Their proud, almost grotesque adherence to a violent, pure-blood ideology, and particularly Morphin's abusive, almost animalistic behavior towards his sister Moreau.
It's a stark, deeply unsettling portrayal of the truly destitute and dysfunctional environment that molded Tom Riddle's early life. Dumbledore highlights how this squalor and Merope's tragic fate reinforced Tom's desperate desire to be different.
Different from his ordinary Muggle father and his impoverished, inbred magical kin. It's a powerful look at how environment and deprivation can just warp a soul.
And we get that utterly chilling, almost primal detail from Morphin, that Parseltongue rhyme he croons. Hissy, hissy, little snaky slither on the floor, you be good to Morphin or he'll nail you to the door.
It's not just a quirky detail. It adds this visceral, ancient, guttural layer to their magic. Shows how deeply ingrained and brutal this inherited trait is.
And underscores why Voldemort valued Parseltongue so much as a mark of his specialness and dominance. It's a raw, disturbing glimpse into the dark, violent lineage that shaped him. A hereditary cruelty beyond simple prejudice.
And the connection between the Gaunt's ring, the Horcrux, and Dumbledore's grievous, life-threatening injury, that's vital too.
It's not just a plot point. It's a physical manifestation of the war's cost. Dumbledore explains, a terrible curse there was upon it too. Had it not been for my own prodigious skill and for Professor Snape's timely action, I might not have lived to tell the tale.
Highlighting the insidious, dangerously powerful dark magic in Voldemort's family legacy, and how Dumbledore quite literally sacrificed a part of himself, leaving his hand black and burned, and ultimately groomed to fight it.
It's a symbol of the profound personal cost of confronting true evil head-on. The magic itself has real destructive consequences.
Okay, another often overlooked detail that's more profound than it seems. The true significance of Felix Felicis, liquid luck, and the subtle way it plays with the illusion of luck.
Ah, Felix Felicis. Yeah, Harry's use of it certainly seems to make him incredibly lucky. Leads him right to Slughorn at Hagrid's hut, opens opportunities at every turn.
But was it truly changing external events, bending probability? Or was it more subtly altering his perception, his confidence, nudging him to intuitively make what appear to be the right choices?
It's a fascinating philosophical question, isn't it? About free will versus subtle guidance or even predetermination.
And Ron inadvertently hits on this when discussing his Quidditch success under the supposed influence of Felix Felicis, which Harry later admits he faked.
Ron says, yeah, but I thought I had, didn't I? Same difference, really.
That's not just a funny line. It profoundly suggests that a belief in luck, a surge of confidence, can be as potent as actual luck.
It gives you that self-assurance to take risks, seize opportunities, make choices that look lucky.
Exactly. Harry's success getting the memory from Slughorn wasn't just a magic, easy button. The potion guided him to the right place, Hagrid's hut at the right time.
But the actual outcome still required Harry's own courage, his empathy, his painful personal confrontation with Slughorn. He had to use details about his mother, Lily, telling Slughorn, she gave me her life, but you won't give me a memory.
It highlights that the potion merely enabled Harry's own agency and strengths, rather than replacing them. It provided the stage, but Harry still had to perform. A nuanced take on fate and free will. Okay, time for our mini-debate, diving headfirst into the polarizing moments of Half-Blood Prince today. The unbreakable vow and Snape's true allegiance. Never-ending question.
Let's do it.
I'll kick off. I argue that Snape's promise to Narcissa, where he says, he intends me to do it in the end, I think, but he is determined that Draco should try first. And then killing Dumbledore, that was the ultimate act of loyalty to Voldemort.
Okay.
This was Snape's moment, his big play. To finally gain Voldemort's full, unwavering trust, elevate his own power. Think about his consistent, almost gleeful malice towards Harry, especially here, repeatedly jinxing him, saying things like, I do not take cheek from anyone, Potter, not even the chosen one. This deep-seated villainy, his constant antagonism, it all points to him being firmly on Voldemort's side, a true Death Eater reveling in his dark power. It fits his character arc up to then.
Okay, with all due respect, I think you're missing the crucial, almost agonizing context here. Snape's motivations.
Yeah.
While the quote is accurate, Snape was fulfilling an unbreakable vow to Narcissa to protect Draco. But, and this is the critical part, it was under Dumbledore's direct orders to kill him anyway, as part of their larger plan. The text's description of Snape's face revulsion and hatred as he casts the spell that's not a triumphant loyalist.
You think that's agony, not hatred for Dumbledore.
It's the agony of someone forced to commit a terrible act against his true allegiances. Doing something physically repulsive to them, a horrifying necessity, his antagonism towards Harry, as Lupin suggests later, could very well have been Dumbledore's instruction.
To keep Harry away, protect the cover.
Exactly. Dumbledore knew Harry's impulsiveness. Make Harry despise Snape, ensure he never gets too close, never compromises Snape's deep cover, and crucially, force Harry to learn to fight without a crutch. It was brutal, strategic, not malice towards Harry or true allegiance to Voldemort. It was the ultimate acting test and loyalty test.
Okay. Let's take that thought and push it further. Controversial hot take mini debate. What was really going on behind the scenes? Yeah. Dumbledore, Snape, Malfoy, Astronomy Tower.
Let's hear it.
My hot take. Dumbledore's hand. Broken, terminally injured by the Horcrux ring. He was vulnerable, dying anyway. Snape's act wasn't just a promise. It was a necessity, a mercy kill. Saving Dumbledore from a prolonged, agonizing death at Malfoy's hand.
While also solidifying Snape's position.
Exactly. A premeditated, shared burden. A desperate, prearranged sacrifice. Dumbledore practically spells it out to Malfoy. I am more defenseless than you can have dreamed, and still you have not acted. That confirms his vulnerability, implies the prearranged nature of Snape's intervention. It's the ultimate sacrificial play.
That's a compelling take, and the hand is key. But I'd argue the primary focus should be less on Dumbledore's mercy, maybe, and more on the incredibly dark, complex network Malfoy was forced into by Voldemort. A network Snape was desperately trying to infiltrate, manage, and ultimately undermine.
So Snape was managing Malfoy's mess.
Pretty much. Malfoy's desperate plans, using the Room of Requirement, the Polyjuice Potion, to bring in Crabbe and Goyle disguised as girls. Harry thinks, no wonder they don't look too happy these days. It shows a deeper, more sinister plan from Voldemort, way beyond Malfoy's competence.
Right.
Snape's interventions in Malfoy's screw-ups, like giving Crabbe and Goyle detention, stopping them being lookouts, suggests he wasn't just ensuring Malfoy succeeded or even just doing a mercy kill. He was actively trying to control Malfoy's disastrous efforts, mitigate the damage, subtly redirect or slow down Voldemort's larger plan.
So he was managing an incredibly chaotic, dangerous situation, trying to stop Malfoy's ineptitude, compromising their bigger strategy.
Yeah, he was like the janitor of dark plans, trying to keep the whole house from burning down while playing the part of an arsonist.
Wow. Okay. Let's zoom out now for our meta take. Considering the broader real-world implications of Half-Blood Prince. Beyond the magic, the book offers this chillingly prescient look at totalitarianism, information control.
Mirroring political responses to crisis, manipulation of public opinion we still see today. It's not just fantasy, it's sharp socio-political commentary.
The Ministry's journey in this book is a perfect, terrifying example. Fudge's initial denial.
Almost comical, yeah. Then Scrimgeour's more aggressive but still deeply manipulative attempts to control information. The Daily Prophet's shifting narratives are central. First, ignoring, then subtly twisting the truth to fit the Ministry line.
And Scrimgeour's relentless push for Harry to publicly endorse the Ministry, a clear, cynical manipulation, using Harry's chosen one status for political gain, even while questioning it himself. He asks Harry, does it really matter whether you are the chosen one or not, while trying to get intel and public backing.
Classic political expediency, using a symbol.
And Voldemort's rise isn't just raw power, it's painted through this pervasive lens of fear and secrecy. The Muggle Prime Minister unwillingly drawn into the Shadow War, terrified by the other ministers' visits, the escalating incidents.
The breakdown of societal norms is everywhere. The heightened fear, oppressive security in Diagon Alley, the disturbing rise of fake protective charms preying on desperation.
And the brutal public attacks on secure figures like Amelia Bones, Emmeline Vance. The book describes Dementors swarming all over the place, attacking people left, right, and center, blurring the lines between magical and mundane threats.
It resonates deeply with the erosion of stability, the breakdown of public trust, the psychological toll that terror and unchecked power inflict on society, like real-world periods of political extremism or widespread fear.
The book consistently underscores that true power here comes not just from magic or force, but from a profound, almost Machiavellian understanding of human nature.
Dumbledore himself says it. It is the unknown we fear when we look upon death and darkness, nothing more. Voldemort, despite his power, secretly fears both. His seductive appeal, rallying followers, often lies in preying on this universal fear and on the human desire for specialness.
Young Com Riddle's initial self-perception. I knew I was different. I knew I was special. I knew I was important. It's a chilling precursor.
To Voldemort's eventual belief in his own absolute superiority, his determination to carve for himself a startling place in magical history, using objects with powerful magical history for his horcruxes.
It's a stark psychological study. How personal insecurities, lack of love, craving uniqueness can be weaponized into this relentless, terrifying quest for absolute power, controlling others through their deepest anxieties.
Exactly.
Wow. That brings us to the close of this deep dive into Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. What a complex, layered, and often heartbreaking book. Truly the series' turning point into much darker, more profound territory.
It really is.
As we leave you today, we have a unique what-if question for you to ponder. What if R.A.B. Regulus Arcturus Black had succeeded, not just in discovering the true Horcrux, but had managed to destroy it himself, and crucially, returned to the Order to share his discovery?
How might Sirius's tragic legacy and the whole fight against Voldemort have been fundamentally altered by that monumental, unheralded act of courage? Something to think about.
Definitely.
And for those of you who love the complex moral gray areas, the psychological battles, the intricate dance of double-crossing and hidden loyalties in this book, I have a quirky but I think highly relevant recommendation.
Ooh, what is it?
I'd wholeheartedly recommend the TV series The Americans. It's a spy thriller, Cold War setting, 2 KGB agents deep undercover in America, raising kids, navigating intense personal lives, all while keeping these incredibly dangerous secrets.
Sounds intense.
It is. It's absolutely full of what-ifs, moments where loyalty is questioned, trust is a weapon, characters forced into impossible, agonizing choices. Very much like Snape's journey, in a way. It'll make you question everything, just like this book does.
Great recommendation. Okay, that's our deep dive into Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince for today. We loved exploring these layers, unearthing new perspectives.
And we really want to hear from you, the page jumpers.
Yes. If you found value in this discussion, please take a second to leave a like on this video. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It genuinely helps us grow our community and keep bringing you these deep dives.
And for our compelling question in the comments below, what is your burning hot take on Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince?
Let us know. We want to hear it all. Thanks for joining us.